Alright, so it seems that we are live. Hello and welcome to my studio. Today is another art lesson, and because I am self-taught, my study of art has been, well, different. I haven't had a traditional art study. I didn't go to school for it. So when you study on your own, you tend to sort of go with what interests you, and you learn along the way, and you learn by doing. So that's what I thought I would do today, is sort of just get in there and learn by doing. So today we're going to be working with pastels. My understanding of art programs is that they would start with drawing skills first, for good reason as well. And in that sense, I guess that was my experience learning art myself. I started with drawing because drawing is what I knew, not because I had researched an art program and they started with drawing, so I wanted to start with drawing. Drawing is what I've been doing, and I wanted to get better at it, so that's why I started with drawing, and then I started adding color, right? I remember having a very strong aversion to painting, because in school, in grade school, I liked art class, but the painting, we didn't have great supplies for painting, and I didn't like the buckling of paper and such that was happening. But I mean, in grade school, what are you going to do, right? In high school, I didn't take art, so I didn't have experience with good, proper supplies for art. So I didn't want to do any painting, but then I eventually got into it. In any case, so pastels, the pastel sticks is what we're going to be using. And they're really great because they do offer that, what can I call it? Control. They do offer control. You have also pastel pencils. And then, because if you like to use a pencil, then you can use that. I bought a bunch of pastel pencils, but I don't use them on a regular basis, just because I tend to like quick applications of paint, of color, not with a pencil or in pencil form. It's just my preference. I don't have a lot of patience, I suppose, which an artist should have patience, but yeah. So before we get started, I'm hoping that you are also able to set yourself up with what makes you feel comfortable and calm and at ease. For today's lesson, I've got myself my tea. And I have a candle going. So that sort of it's what I like to have in my space when I'm painting. This stream will also be going on YouTube, but it's first streamed on Twitch. And I've got a couple people, hello, saying to bye followers. Well, thank you for the idea. I looked into it. I that's not really what I want to do with this stream, however, but thank you for the idea. So when you're first starting off with pastels, A simple sketchbook would be fine. I'm using a sketchbook from ProArt. It's 70 pounds, 70 pounds weight. It's called a medium rough surface. I wouldn't consider it medium. It's quite quite smooth, and that means that the pastel, there isn't enough tooth in the paper for lots of pastel applications, lots of layers, and that's okay. We don't need to worry about that right now. You're probably gonna get at most 2 layers on this kind of paper, but that's fine with what we want to do right now. Mine is 12 by 9. You can use any size that you wish. This is just what I have. And you're looking for something that accepts dry media. So for this one, we've got pastel, charcoal, and pencil, and also pen and ink. Now, when it says ink as to what kind of what you'd be able to use with the paper, we don't mean watercolor sort of washes lots of water. We mean quite little water and more pigment, so ink, right? Because otherwise the paper just not going to be able to take that amount of water. All right, so for our first lesson in pastels, right, I'm using Jack Richardson soft pastels, which are actually medium soft, and I'm using a set of 120 half sticks. You don't have to get this set. This was relatively expensive. I will maybe call it in the medium range of expensive. For yourself, get whatever budget pastels you have. When you're using the harder pastels, such as Mungio has semi-hard or hard pastels. They would be considered harder pastels. When you use them on sketchbook like this, you'll do just fine. They're gonna go on just fine. If you're using other kind of paper, they won't be good for that because they're too hard. So you need softer paper in order for those pastels to work. And what we're gonna do today, just to play around with a little bit of color and a little bit of getting to know your pastel, is going to be clouds. All right, so I have a reference photo. I do work from reference photos, which is all right. And so I've got a very moody picture that I'm looking at with a lone sort of tree and field. In a field, I would like to experiment with color here. Okay, so we would want three types of well, not necessarily color, but shades. That's not the right word for this either. Tones. It's still too early, and the right terminology will come to me eventually. We'll want a dark, medium, and light. I apologize. It'll come to me. And we want to designate the area that we're going to be painting in. I can do 2 studies on a paper this big. And my lines are not very straight, but that's okay. The reason I'm starting off with pastels is because my interest is more the relationship we have with art and less of the technique or the technical skill. So I don't want to start off with lines and shading and stuff. I want to just get right into it because it's the experience of the colors, it's the experience of the medium in your hands, it's the experience that you have in painting. And it can be anything, and it doesn't have to be a very specific, perfect painting. These are sketches. That's all we're doing. All right. So let's start off with my medium tone. It's not tone that I'm trying to use. What is the proper value? That was painful to remember the term. Lord. Value. We want values. So when we're choosing a color range for our study, you want to go with, the color wheel. Do you want the primaries? Do you want different other shades in there? And the value has to do with the darkness or lightness of the color. It doesn't have to do with color at all. For any painting to have impact, it needs to have a specific kind of contrast. That means values. So you need to use the right kind of values. So we're going to use 3 values today. We're going to go with a medium, very dark and very light for maximum impact. So what I would like to, let's go with the purples. I'm feeling like my clouds should be purple. So I've got a very dark purple here, the darkest in my range of pastels at the moment, which is this guy. And I'm just using a piece of paper here to put it on something. My lightest touch of that value in that purple would potentially be this guy. These two have the same value. This is more of a pink, that's more purple, but they have the same value. If I look into my other whites and such, that's the best that I can do. We might want to add some actual white as the lightest light value, but I'm going to hold off on that because I don't know if I want to do that. So a mid-range in here would probably be something like this. That would be my mid-range. These two are very close, so this is not it's not light enough. But we'll see what we can do, hey? I could do different color. No, it's gonna be the same. Okay, I might have to use the white then. Awesome. And that's just because I'm sort of limited to the pastel range that I have in this set is why. Generally speaking, when I can't have in the same color range, I can't have the value that I need. You can also get away with it by going, for example, with the pink. Right, so these two have the same value, but if I go like this, I might add more interest this way, right? Because it's gonna pop. But I didn't want to bring in any more different colors, so let's try to go with this guy. I'm actually going to check two things on here. That's that. Yeah. Oh, it's quite light actually. Okay. We should be able to get away with it then. I'll keep that white just in case, but it's really quite light. I have to remember to drink my tea now. Oh, that's just for the sky. Okay, hold on a second. We need the ground a little bit as well. So, let me look at my reference photo. We've got greens happening. I'm gonna go with grays for the ground because I want something that's going to contrast really nicely with the sky. So, really dark gray, not quite black. I don't want to pull out the black because I didn't pull out the white, so I just, stay away from the black and white. So let's go with the darkest gray. The lightest gray. I have more grays in here than I do the purple, so this is my lightest gray. And then a medium sort of gray should be this dude right here. Alright, and that's sort of going to happen for the tree as well. We might or might not have the tree in there. We'll see. Adding too many elements in this lesson. Okay. So, how is this looking on the camera? Looking good. Okay. All right. So, my reference is landscape. So I drew out my boxes landscape format. When you paint anything, you choose the format of your painting. Do you want a landscape? Do you want it? What's the other? Like on the vertical. And for what I am wanting right now is landscape format, and I want more sky than ground. Now, another very good rule in painting anything, whether you're drawing or you're painting, just anything in art, is um, how you organize your elements in your quadrant there. Okay, so that means composition. All right, and the golden rule in composition is the rule of thirds, meaning that you're going to have more drama, basically more interest, when you put your focal object, focal point in one of the top or bottom thirds. Let me rephrase that. When you, if we were to draw some lines here that indicate some thirds in our painting here this way, right? Your focal point, if it's located in one of these, can you see anything on the camera? Too light. Okay. So we divided up the painting into thirds, longitudinally, vertically, and horizontally, right? So where the lines intersect, if you place your focal point there, you're going to get more interest. All right. Now you notice that the lines are not symmetrical. So push things further out this way and further out this way, not quite in the center of the thing. There are times when the center is where you want to have your focal point. There are times when you want it off to the side and a little higher or a little lower than the midline. Okay, the midline for me here would be this line right here. Okay, so our interest with this sketch is the sky. So I'm going to place my horizon low so that 2/3 of the painting is going to be sky. How you organize the composition also depends on what it is you're painting. When you're painting landscape, where you put your horizon line is very important. And I generally would recommend to do the bottom thirds or the top third for a horizon line. Okay, so I'm going to place my horizon line sort of nice and low. I've got a bit of a hill happening, so I'm gonna go like this. This is my horizon line. I'm going to have a tree over here, so it's off to this side of, in this third of the painting. And I'm sort of just using dashes and so forth to indicate the shape, overall shape of the tree. You might or might not do the tree, remember. All right, so now my shapes in the clouds. Clouds have shapes, so feel free to sort of indicate big shapes this way so that you sort of know how to place your colors, pastel, when it comes down. All right, so when we're dealing with pastels, I will recommend going darkest dark, lightest light, and sort of the middle afterwards. There's any number of ways to paint. And we will be going back and forth between the various values anyways. But I'm going to go with my darkest dark, which is sort of in this corner. And I'm not pushing hard. I don't have to push hard with these pastels. They're quite soft. So have some experimental brush strokes. I was going to say strokes with a pastel stick. Okay, these are half sticks, as I said before. The full sticks will be about, well, half as long, right? Your hands are going to get dirty. It is what it is, and you're sort of scribbling in. Okay, and I'm using the flatter side of the pastel. I'm not using it this way to get at a point. I'm using sort of on the side like this, like a chalk, coloring in a little bit. Sort of lightly. And I'm looking for shapes. This is what I really enjoy about working with pastels, is that you're painting shapes more than anything. My lightest light is going to be the sky. I mean, the whole sky is sort of full of clouds, but in the distance, I'm going to have the lightest light shade. Again, I'm going flat to get most coverage. Okay, and then I'm gonna go with my medium, my mid value. Now, in this, there's going to be, the colors are not so black and white, very strongly delineated in nature. You're gonna have mixtures. So I'm going to put down my mid value, then I'm going to go back in with my darkest value and I'm going to smoosh them in. It's a very technical term, smoosh them in. So that they blend. Okay. And as I said before, my lightest light in there is not, it's not very good contrast, it's not so light. So I'm gonna have to get the rest of the stuff darker to help my lightest value, well, shine more. We want contrast. The good things about pastels is that they do blend quite nicely. And you can blend with your finger. You can get a piece of Kleenex or cotton swab. There are tortillons, I think they're called. They're like a pencil shape but made of paper. And then you scribble with that. And that's also possible too. I like to use my fingers again because I'm looking at it as my interaction with the with my art supplies, and I like to get my hands in there. Look at my fingers. That's gonna happen. Alright, so what we've got here so far is a hot mess. And that's going to happen. So looking at it, let me try and see what you guys are seeing on video. Okay. So looking at it, my first instinct is to say that there isn't enough contrast. So my darkest purple is not dark enough. My light is definitely not my light enough. So I'm going to put down the ground. And another very good rule in painting is to sort of use the colors in more or less everything. Not quite everything, but to have movement of colors so that you get a more integrated look to the painting. So I'm going to put in the ground. And I'm going to put in the tree as well. Let's do that. And then some of that gray, I'm going to use it to darken up the sky where I need it to. It's also going to tone down the color. It's not going to be so vibrant. But it is what it is. We're going to use it. We're going to do it. I'm getting some skipped frames in here. Okay. So my internet is having a bit of trouble. Okay. So back to my reference. And I'm going to go with the darkest dark. For the ground, I want to use only horizontal movements. The clouds have more of a rotational type of movement with my finger when I was blending. The ground is just going to be side to side, and that in itself is also going to help with delineating the difference between the two zones in the painting. All right, so lightest light is sort of going to be over here. It's going to come down this way, it's going to come this way. I'm going to have a little bit down there. So then my medium value woo, my medium value is actually quite dark. Let's do something a little bit lighter. This is better. Okay. Not enough contrast. It's the same problems I had at the top. sky. So I might have to bring in black and white then. So this is what I have. I like the way that the colors work together. Really, I quite do. And this paper is not going to let me have too many layers, so I'm already fighting the paper as it is. I think my first painting in pastels was a flower. Yeah, I think that's what I did the first time. Lonely little tree over there. Now, problem is that if I bring in white right now, that's still not going to do anything because the paper is not accepting any more color. Might be the best that I can do right now. So contrast, remember, as much as I can, as much contrast as I can. And that's going to improve the look of the painting. And if I bring in some black, You have to be very minimal. But you also cannot go any darker than black, which is one of the reasons that I try not to use it so much. But it depends on the look that you're trying to go for. And if what you are looking for is very strong contrast, you can't go any stronger than black and white. You know, that's going to be the strongest contrast you can ever get. So we're looking for, if I'm looking for a very moody painting right here, then yeah, the grays and the black is going to do it. Because it also tones down the color and makes it very, well, kind of dramatic. That changes the aspect of the painting completely. You're going to get dust with pastel paintings, always. And when you put something that's very nice and light close to something that is dark, you're going to get the greatest contrast. Alright, so how are we doing? Not too bad for what we got. Right? Very quite dramatic. Okay. I'll go wash my hands, then I'll be back and we're going to do another study with different colors but same value range. Oops, All right. Let's put these babies back. I'm gonna leave my black and white because I might use it again by the looks of it. Okay, so this time round, I'm thinking let's do browns and such. Now, what's going to contrast really nicely with the brown sky? Got lots of greens. Let's do greens because I've got lots. Okay, so I want, well, white is going to be white, but then I want something fleshy. Fleshy, toned, flesh toned, very light. And I want something in, might get two mid-tones in there. My darkest dark brown that I have is this dude right here. And something sort of more in the middle might be this guy, might be that. Okay, and then for the ground, for it to be green, I'm gonna use the same light tone here, or rather value, but of this color, because it can go very well with my greens as well. So very nice dark green. Would potentially be this dude right here, like so. Well, no, because that's got lots of blue in it, so that's something that I have to remember. So then let's do, I think this might be the deepest green. So I want something that's an earthy green, so that a green that has a bit more of that brown in it makes it more earthy, and that's going to go well with other brown tones. But then I'm also limited because I've got a big range of greens, but they're all sort of similar values, so it doesn't help much. Unfortunately. It's probably the best that I can do, actually, just the two. It's gonna go all together, more or less. It's got a pinkish tone to it. Can I find something that is not pinkish? Oh no, look, I've got some more greens over here. So that's a good mid. And but it's not light enough. Well, because I also have the white in there, that could be something that I could use. not light enough. Well, I'm gonna have to go with the pinkish tone. But if I go more on the yellow side underneath. Well, I suppose that's where the black and white is gonna come in. Okay. Okay, so let's see what we got. So again, I'm gonna have, I need another Kleenex, not Kleenex, paper towel. Okay. So same idea, we want a nice low horizon, our tree here. And I gotta go back to my reference photo. Okay. Okay, darkest dark that is not black. I'm gonna go with the brown. This is so light you can barely see it too. It's almost the color of the paper, but not quite. The same kind of idea. I put down the lightest, darkest dark, the lightest light. And now I'm sort of just putting in the mid-tone and blending the two together, or the three. I'm using circular motions of my hands, my fingers to blend. I wonder if this might not be enough. Not have to use the black and white. And I'm looking for shapes. I'm painting shapes, I'm not painting clouds. I'm painting shapes. Okay, and at the bottom, this is looking very nice. Okay. Now I'm going to blend out the tree too much because it's going to just blend into the background. I need it to be a bit more sharp so that you can tell that there's something there. Okay. And my sky. It's actually not a bad combination. How are we doing for... Yeah. Not a bad combination, hey? Let me know which one is your favorite, the bottom one or the top one. Which color combination works best for you. And I'm actually going to leave it as such. I'm not going to add in the black or the white. The white's not going to do much on this. This is actually quite light, so there won't be a lot of difference. The most difference is going to be in the darks, so if I add black. But I'm kind of liking the way that it looks right now, and I don't want to mess with it too much, you know. So I'm just going to add some more of this dark brown color to indicate the darker areas. And I'm pushing a little bit harder on the pastel as well. And I think I'm going to leave it as that. The paper's not taking any more pastel, so I'm going to leave it like that. I say I'm going to leave it and then I don't. Okay, let's leave it like that. It's still dramatic, I think, but it's a lot warmer than the top. This is warmer colors, the top is cooler colors. All right. So what did we learn today? We sort of just played around with some pastel sticks with chalk, basically, right? And we played around with the colors. We talked about contrast, talked about where to place your items in the painting, how to work with that rule of thirds, and what has a pleasing quality, right? The tree being on this side, on this sort of third of the painting, as opposed to right in the middle, has a different aesthetic. That we talked about contrast, we talked about very light and very dark values, and those are what's going to bring the strongest contrast for the painting. We sort of talked, we sort of played around with color, just in shading and not the shading, but the combination of colors, right? Blending of colors. And we can talk about that a bit more at a later date as well, if you guys are interested. More in-depth look at color and a little bit of color theory. So I hope that today was helpful. Please do let me know in the comments. So for YouTube, let me know in the comments what you found helpful in today's session, what you would like to see further, and I'll see you in my next stream. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a good day or a good night wherever you're at in the world, and stay positive, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.